This week's episode of the Totally Rad Show is brought to you by Dolby.
EA Games Dead Space.
And GoDaddy.com.
Mr. Albrecht, how many licks does it take to get to the Tootsie Roll center of the Tootsie Pop?
I've never made it without biting. Ask Mr. Kanata.
Hey, Mr. Kanata, how many licks does it take to get to the Tootsie Roll center of the Tootsie Pop?
Let's find out. 1, 2, 3.
3.
Three rad dudes with nothing better to do get abducted by the crew of the starship Alpha 2. They're from the planet Q, which, due to a space-time loop, is stuck in 82 and must be rescued. They need our heroes to discuss the latest news and give their reviews of games and movies too. Sure hope you're not confused. We swear this is all true, not just the premise to the Totally Rad Show.
Totally Rad Show, Totally Rad, Totally Rad Show, Totally Rad, Totally Rad Show, Totally Rad, Totally Rad Show, Totally Rad Show.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Totally Rad Show, episode number 82. I'm Alex Albrecht.
I'm Jeff Kanata.
I'm Dan Trachtenberg.
The Totally Rad Show is your weekly dose of all things rad. We go down to the local bank with a buddy and rob some people of 7 million euros. With guns.
Interesting.
Rad.
Like that? You'll hear more about that.
I thought you were
at
going to
the
do
late
a
time.
Twitter-esque
I was going to do a little bit of the fail whale. Our logo is now equals the fail whale.
Yeah, I think that's
Mark
cool.
Rakosi sent this in, which is always great. We obviously are big Twitter fans, and we have seen the fail whale there when they're over capacity, which they've gotten better with.
Yes,
Twitter, when it
very
first
much.
started, was really not prepared for the onslaught.
Yeah, if you're not following us on Twitter, I think that it's a way to experience our show in a whole nother. I mean, we twittered about the fact that we're shooting right now.
Yep.
We try to update. Dan is always recommending movies and
Or like
things.
when we go see screenings, so you can actually keep up with what we're doing,
Yeah.
and when we're playing video games and stuff like that. You can follow all of us. We will have information about that at the end of the show. That said,
If you're
I'm
finding
excited.
it hard to concentrate on this episode, you might be smelling my sweatshirt.
Whoa.
It smells so weird. Right here. This side.
Why do you want to smell it? Why do you want to smell that?
It was
smell
an
it?
invitation. It
smell it?
smells fine. It smells like you.
I can't stop smelling.
You
Maybe
guys.
your scent changed
No,
overnight.
it must have.
I'm wearing the new TRS shirt, and you're worried about his.
Oh my
You
god, that
are.
looks amazing!
Isn't that cool?
You are.
Thanks, Brad
So
Dial.
good. Jinx.com/TRS. Let's go.
This week in movies, we're going to talk about two ones again.
Two ones? I like
Two?
I like my
the
ones
movie?
cold. You like cold ones, don't you?
I like two ones.
We're talking about two flicks. The first one we're going to tell you guys about is Body of Lies. So Body of Lies is based on a David Ignatius. He's a columnist for the Washington Post, I believe, and he wrote this book that the movie is based on. It's Ridley Scott's new movie of American Gangster fame, nominated for Academy Award last year. Also, a screenplay written by William Monahan, who won the Academy Award for The Departed. So Body of Lies is about basically a CIA agent who's working in the Middle East, in Jordan, and trying to uncover terrorist operations. And it sort of follows his story, and he's played by Leonardo DiCaprio, along with Russell Crowe, who's sort of the CIA agent in the homeland back in Washington.
His supervisor, basically.
His supervisor, exactly. And it follows them as they uncover.
And my new favorite actor, Mark Strong.
Right,
too.
and we'll be talking about. He's in both the films we're reviewing today. But I'm
Stardust.
curious to hear what you guys think of him in Body of Lies. What did you think of it, Jeff?
I think this is a spectacular movie. I think it's the best movie Ridley Scott has made in a long time, and that's saying something because he's a great filmmaker. I was absolutely blown away by this movie and loved every minute of it. It's taut, it's thrilling, it's exciting. The acting is great, the script is great. I was completely drawn in, on the edge of my seat in certain moments that in another lesser filmmaker's hands would seem lame and a cop-out with sort of some Deus Ex Machina stuff happening. But with him, I was completely emotionally invested. It does a really great thing of communicating this kind of upstairs, downstairs in a Gosford Parkian kind of way, this kind of the worker bees and the deciding class, to mix metaphors, but the guys who actually make the decisions and don't have to bear the repercussions, and the people who are actually in the trenches and do the work, and how that dynamic works, I found to be fascinating. Very few movies deal with it in that way, and the fact that it's about the Middle East and now is even kind of secondary to the grander themes that really resonate in a lot of different situations. I love this movie. Mark Strong, like I said, my new favorite actor, he gives a incredible performance. I think he should be nominated for an Academy Award.
Yeah, I also enjoyed it. I don't think I was head over heels as much for you.
Not for me.
For you, for the rest of my life.
Oh.
But in this movie, not as much. I felt like the love story was kind of tacked on, and I was like, this is not the right place for that.
But it pays off.
No, it only proves the reason why it's there and tacked on is so that it can pay off, which I even thought was even worse.
All right.
But anyway, I went into this movie not excited. Right? I'm sort of done with Middle Eastern terrorist movies. I was like, great, now we get to see Traitor again. Woo. 5-10 minutes into the movie, you realize this is a totally different movie. I forgave it. It would be like seeing a World War II movie that did something completely different and was amazing. I'd be like, you know what? I forgive you that nobody needs another one of those. You know what I mean?
It's not about the Middle East.
It's not about the Middle East. And the other thing that I was actually talking to a friend of mine, and I think she put it really, really well, because I was like, it's weird because it's the Middle East and all of this terrorism and the government, the U.S. and these foreign countries, it's all so politically such a hot potato that I was like, how is it that movie seemed to not really be biased in one direction or the other? And she said, the great thing about this movie is that there are two main characters, one that you're rooting for and one that you despise, and they're both Americans. Mm. And so it takes you into this place where you're like, I can root for the American and I can be mad at the American, but I'm seeing this experience that's happening in this world that exists in all different times of time. So I liked the movie a lot. Didn't love it, but I liked it. I liked it a lot. It was fun.
I don't think it takes sides as much as you say, but
no, that's what I mean. It doesn't take sides. It's totally ambiguous. That's what I mean.
Interesting. I too loved this movie. I think this is a possible Best Picture nomination. I could not recommend it more. What is so great about this movie for me is that it humanizes spies. It is really, to see that relationship between
and he's not like
an
James
operative,
Bond, you know what I mean? He's like a guy that works as a spy, like that's his job,
right?
Blue collar,
and to see that relationship with his superior, and to have that nonchalance where we build up this job with James Bond and Jason Bourne, and we realize it's people's jobs. It's their day-to-day jobs that they do while they're taking their kids to school and what have you.
That was really cool.
All that stuff, great. But what's awesome are the details. And I think I said the same thing about American Gangster, and you could say the same thing about every single one of Ridley Scott's movies, but it's so evident in this movie that the explosions in this movie aren't bigger. It's just the details of the explosions are so much more powerful. Like what shrapnel is in this movie.
Like the car that flips over and you're like, how do I barely
But not just that, like literally the details of what shrapnel are in this movie are shown to you, and a torture scene in this movie, it's not a cooler way. There's a scene where someone gets tortured. They didn't think of how can we show what's a torture that we've never had in a movie. Let's make our movie. They showed you a torture that you've seen in every other movie, but the way that it's shown, that they found the details in it, or he has found the details in it to articulate it in a way that's so much more powerful. So it's the finer things that really make it so much better than every other movie. And you're right,
Mark Strong is unbelievable. And for the longest time during that movie, I could not put my finger on where I knew him from. and it's from Mrs. Pettigrew's Best Day Ever.
He's a revelation in this movie.
It's actually not bad.
I bet you. Yeah.
He's a revelation in this movie.
And I remember him from Stardust as like evil prince.
Yeah,
Every time that character is on screen, I was breathless. It's such powerful acting.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about him in his next movie. In our next movie, Rocknrolla.
Sweet.
Jeff does that better, but
very good.
as do you. So Rocknrolla is Guy Ritchie's next big flick. And this one is about basically...
Yeah. It's Guy Ritchie Snatch and Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
Right, correct. And others that are not as good.
Yeah.
But basically, it's about the crime scene in London and how drugs are no longer the thing that you do crime, that you make money off of, and now real estate has become the thing. So from like small town thug to Euro people and old school drug, how they all are seeking after this new way to make money. And it stars Tom Wilkinson and
Gerard Butler,
Mark
Strong.
So
and tons of people, Jeremy Piven, Ludacris.
Right.
Yeah.
So what did you think of it, Alex?
I love Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. I loved Snatch. If you haven't seen Snatch, go see Snatch before you see Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels because they're pretty much the same movie. But I think Snatch is superior if you haven't seen Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. Anyway, I'm getting off on my Guy Ritchie rant. I was ultimately disappointed with this film. I thought this film was sort of all flash and no substance. It really, unlike his other films, it seemed like all this stuff was going on that were completely not connected, and then just sort of were like, but watch how I weave all this crap together that you didn't care about. It was like, well, what? I don't really care. And then it just seems sort of like muddy. All the parts were there, the cool shots, the good music, you know what I mean? Like the crazy fights and funny moments that were tried to be funny. It just felt like it was less than on his other films. I also had a really, 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 really big problem in the middle of the movie. These guys who are basically like low-end thugs trying to make it in the world steal 7 million euros. And what do? Absolutely nothing. They go back to being little guys in a freaking pub.
Well, they give it away.
No. They give her 20%. No. They kept 5 million euros.
No, they give it to.
I think they gave it to the guy.
What's his name?
What guy?
The helper.
They owed that.
Mark Strong.
They only owed him 2 million euro.
Oh, well, let's not get into detail.
All I'm saying was, in the middle of the movie, I went, wait a minute. If you do the math, they literally have like 2 million euro each, and they're just back to doing the same BS stuff that they're doing, trying to make it in the world. So it just got me that it was just one of the many things that for me, I was like, I'm out of the movie. So style was great. It was pretty.
Yeah, I agree with you, dude. Yeah. It's the definition of style over substance. I found the movie tedious.
Yeah.
It feels like a pastiche of all his other movies. There's no character that I connected with in any way. There's no situation that I found to be interesting or fun. It is shot in really slick ways. The beginning starts in such a slick way. Everything is slick, but for what? I didn't care about any of the characters. I didn't care about what happens in the story. There's this awesome thing that happens at the end where they reveal a kind of twist that was not set up. There was no setup for that twist.
Yeah.
The name that they find out, and they find out who it was, we never heard that name until the last moment of the movie. That could have been a running theme. That could have been cool and could have been a neat reveal, but there are some moments that are... It isn't a bad movie. It's just been there, done that, don't really care.
Yeah. Glenn? Danzig?
I liked... Lock, Stock, and Snatch. I never loved them. I saw Lock, Stock on DVD with subtitles, and I really wish I could have experienced this movie that way because I personally found it very hard to understand. So I wonder if part of my review was affected by the fact that I actually found some of it unintelligible and hard to figure out, which is on me completely. But I really agree with you guys that it really is a put on. I didn't know the premise of this movie. By the end of the movie, I did not know the words that I said to preface this movie.
Yeah, when you said it, I was like, "Oh, he might like it."
And then when
I didn't get any.
And then I was reading the PR thing, and when I read that premise, I was like, "That's a freaking cool movie." And I feel like he put on his style on a story that didn't need that style to tell that story. Lock, Stock, I get why that style is there. It makes sense. This story, I don't know why he shut. It's him applying the thing he does to this story, as opposed to, Steven Spielberg for Schindler's List decided to shoot it in a completely different way than his other films, or Munich for that matter, because that's the way that story demanded it be told.
Right.
I will say, though, that, and also Guy Ritchie's other movies, there are characters that you empathize with. There's a soul to the story that you're following. This just had the same thing that his other movies have, random characters seeking after one thing and how they are all coming together. It's everything his movie does. I will say there was a very cool foot chase and it did a foot chase in a way that it factored exhaustion in, and I always wanted to see that in a movie, and this did it. So I was thankful for that scene. But
Mark Strong is great in it.
He is. He's great.
It was hard to even see that
I know.
for me.
I think that guy is. I wish he could have played Ozymandias. He would have been perfect.
Interesting.
Oh.
On that note, this.
So we're here in our, I think, fourth annual movie night.
Fourth annual?
Fourth
We've been
annual.
doing the show for 4 years then.
Fourth.
I like annual. Let's change the word annual to mean semi
Once in a while.
or at some period of
Periodic.
time
Yeah.
throughout the year.
And the kind folks at
EA. Yeah.
They made this game Dead Space. And in honor
You've
of,
already seen us. It's been sponsoring our show for the last few weeks.
Yeah.
Couple weeks.
we played the game at E3. We had a blast checking it out.
Yes.
I'm excited to get my
E3
hands on
and
it.
PAX we played some more.
But they wanted us to do something really special.
Yes, because it's a horror space game.
Right.
So we're gonna watch a horror space movie.
Yes.
We wanted to watch Dark Star.
Surprisingly, a lot of horror space movies. You wouldn't have thought.
Yeah. Well.
It's a genre. It's a whole genre.
subgenre.
Unto itself, really. is what it is.
Dark Star, which is like John Carpenter's first movie. None of us had seen it.
Which I was excited. I was excited
None
to
of us
see
will
when I
continue to
walked
see
in.
it.
When I walked in tonight, I was like, "Duh! What's this?"
Yeah. So we landed on Jason X.
We got the whammy. We got a whammy.
Jason in space.
We were all like, no whammies, no whammies, no whammies. Stop!
And then Jason X came out with a
Whammy.
knife, and then swept the commercials.
So I'm sure
Show this to the fine folks at home.
we will still have
We got it
fun.
from Netflix, right, Dan?
Yeah, that's right.
They
They send you the whole movie now. All right, here we go. So Jason X. Let's watch.
All right, let's watch this biznatch. That long stick.
Oh! I want some cool deaths now. We've had one good one.
One good one.
Frozen
to cry
We
in
have
space.
one good one.
If we took the effort to put Jason in space, I want some space themed
There's got to be some
kills.
space kills. There's got to be airlock.
Yeah.
Yeah, airlock.
Future kill.
Push out the airlock.
Well, we just watched.
I feel more prepared for Dead Space.
There was a lot of death and space in this movie.
There actually wasn't a lot of death on the screen. There was a lot of
Unfortunately,
Man, that movie's bad.
death. Cutaway. Wing!
Best kill was cryo phase.
Yeah, one of the
Face.
first
It
kills.
was one of the first ones.
Well, thank you, Dead Space, for
Dead Space for.
putting us through this.
Well, it's actually good because I do enjoy. I have to say I do enjoy. We've done this a couple times now on the show. I do enjoy this because if for nothing else, it's an excuse to get together,
Hang out.
watch a movie, and just
Make fun of it.
Make fun
We
of
couldn't
it.
have had the time we had the movie we rented been like Diving Bell and the Butterfly. You know?
No. And that was Jason X. Explosion.
are at BlizzCon. We are sadly without our compatriot Alex, who is in London right now, shooting a live Dignation. We had to shoot the rest of the episode that you've seen a little early because Alex had to go to London, which is why you're not hearing any Tokyo Game Show news from us. But we do have BlizzCon news.
Half video game people are in Tokyo, and the other half, they're here at BlizzCon.
That's right. Because there's some big news. First of all, Dan, you're not a StarCraft player.
I'm outside of all of this.
You never played Diablo 2?
Never played any of the Diablo games.
Right.
I never played any StarCraft
games.
And
so you had your first hands-on with Diablo and with StarCraft 2.
Yes.
Diablo 3, StarCraft 2.
Yes. Okay. StarCraft 2, love. Yeah. I really want to go play the first one.
Yes. We're going home immediately, and I'm letting him borrow my copy of StarCraft and Brood War, and you're checking it out.
I think there's something about my age that I'm excited to play a different kind of game. And while I could have been playing that kind of game this whole time, it's not like it's a new game, but I was never into that kind of game growing up. But now I'm so much more interested in different kinds of game experiences. I don't get the thrill from first-person shooters as much. I don't get the thrill. Even the adventure games, well, I love them, but I'm in for a more varied experience. And playing that top-down, strategy-based, more thinking game, I'm loving that.
And you're lucky because it's going to be all new for you. Yeah. Now, I got my hands on StarCraft 2, and StarCraft owned my life for a good 2 or 3 years.
It's your Desert Island game.
It is one of my Desert Island games, indeed. Playing StarCraft 2 feels very, very similar to StarCraft. And I think it's going to be in all those little minute details that I'm really going to find where it is different. But there's not this thirst to play it because I'm not seeing anything new different. Now, the news coming out of this conference is what makes me really crazy excited because the StarCraft and Brood War campaigns were so long and interesting and well written and had great cutscenes. And now we're hearing there's going to be 3 StarCraft 2 games, a trilogy of story-based, full-length, huge. In StarCraft 1 and in Brood War, you would have one campaign in the game that switched between the 3 races. But now we're going to have entire games, the same length of content you would find in the first StarCraft for each race.
And that's cool because I never processed these arts. The only RTS I played was Warcraft 3, and that, the way I remember it, was just play against someone in a setting. I don't remember there being a story that I was
There was in
following.
Warcraft 3.
Okay, I was just too young to comprehend.
Yeah, there's a lot of these main hero characters, and you find out how the war is going, and there's like intrigue and people teaming up and stuff happening,
So let me ask you though, if StarCraft is your Desert Island, if StarCraft is this amazing game for you.
It is. I think it is a perfectly designed game.
And there are other RTSs that have come out since then, but you don't play those games.
Not really.
Why?
I never got into Command and Conquer.
Why is that?
I think StarCraft, the milieu for me, is right at my
appealing.
It's perfectly balanced. Everything's intuitive. The classes are very different from each other, and not just in a technology way, but in a fundamental gameplay way.
And is that all there in StarCraft 2?
I can't imagine it not being. I mean, it's the same game tweaked. Okay. New graphics, tweaks.
And none of those tweaks that you experience today, you can't really take away any big difference?
Not yet. I think it's going to take really getting into the nitty-gritty of the game and figuring it all out.
Okay.
But,
Diablo 3.
Yes.
Also, I was very skeptical in the presentation. I was turning to you and saying, it doesn't seem like there's any challenge. It just looks like you just hit buttons and things happen.
And then we got hands-on.
Yeah, and the second it started, first of all, the artwork in the game, guys, is like similar to the new Prince of Persia. It's very storybook. Just the atmosphere is just.
Actually got a lot of criticism because of the storybookiness. It's not so gritty and grounded, but I love it.
Compared to what?
Just, I don't know, compared to...
It's more gritty and grounded than World of Warcraft.
That's for sure. But everything is more gritty and grounded than World of Warcraft.
Sure. But it is, the atmosphere is great, the music, the voice acting.
Animation.
Yeah, the animations, that's all great.
that's all that's been presented to us, but hands-on, that's all great. But I think what I clued into me was it's in every presentation video, they just show them doing the badass weapons and killing everything. But you don't start off that way. And there is difficulty in deciding how you want to kill something and navigating. And the first thing you do is to like find something and bring it to, there's questing involved, there's challenge involved. It was a lot of fun. It really was a lot of fun.
Now, this is the first time you've ever played a Diablo game, right?
Yeah.
So the clicking.
Yeah, it's
It's
weird.
very simple. It's very
weird,
streamlined.
right.
So is that something is it a positive or a negative for you?
I think it's a positive. I think it's positive in the same way that I said StarCraft. I'm like StarCraft is a different kind of way to play a game.
Yeah.
And in my older age for gaming, like it's cool to play a game in a different way. It was weird not using my keyboard hand at all.
WASD type.
Yeah. But
I think as you play that game more, you'll use more of the hotkey and stuff. But I'm going to say right now, Diablo 3 is my most anticipated game, bar none. I love Fallout 3. It looks great. I have a lot of games that I think are going to be great experiences. There is no game I would prefer having right now to play right now and totally throw myself into than Diablo 3. And you know what's interesting? One of the things about being at BlizzCon is you really see what's special about this company. You know, here's a whole convention based around one company and basically just 3 franchises. And we sat in on some of the interesting panels that they were doing. And one of the things that I took away from that, and it bears repeating over and over, is it seems like the best companies, the best video games come from iterating. And one of the interesting things that they said in all the panels is that they'll throw these mechanics in the game and they'll play them and they'll realize, it was a great idea, but it's not fun. And they take it out. They mentioned the barbarian class having a charged strike. That most companies, when they put that in a game, and it stays there, and that's the idea that they had, and put it in, and that's it.
Yeah.
These guys put that in, and they said it was really cool looking, but ultimately it wasn't fun because the way Diablo works is that you don't, it's hard to charge and wait for stuff. Because your multiplayer, people are running out and attacking things. So it wasn't fun. So they took it out, and I think that's what the best games, they play them and iterate, and that's where greatness is made, is that the game we played looked done. Yeah. And these guys say, no, we're going to continue to iterate, and we're going to make this better until it's perfect. And I think that's what's so special about Blizzard.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. I rambled there a lot.
No, that's great.
We're talking about 2 games this week, the first of which is Fracture from LucasArts. It is a game we talked about and then made you famous.
Dan is infamous for talking about it.
You're familiar with the history of the
infamous.
show.
Then you remember us discussing when it was announced. The big deal about Fracture is this deformation of terrain technology that they came up with for it. So basically, it's the future. The global warming. Well, I was trying to come up with a different word, but basically the planet has gone to hell in a handbasket, and the continent of North America has split in half. So you have 2 rival factions where the United States used to be, and they're at war. And we have all kinds of future tech. One of the future technologies that is at play is this ability to actually change the ground. So you can create hills, you can create valleys, you can have a giant spike come out of the ground, all by either shooting weapons, using this other weapon that's always active, or grenades. So, Fracture. A third-person shooter with deformable technology.
Yes.
What did you think?
Man, I thought I was going to have a very specific feel about this game. I put it in, and I really, and then I was like,
this is going to be a long review, isn't it?
I got some milk, stretched a little.
It loaded.
Somebody called, so I had to push pause. No, I really liked when it started. This is sort of my kind of game. Future, sci-fi, shoot 'em up, fun, cool story. crazy stuff has happened. I can do the mechanic of this game is really forward thinking. The fact that you can be running and shooting, and then somebody's like shooting a rocket at you, and you go big mountain, flank around it, drop them down so they're off balance, run up, punch. I mean, that to me was like when I got into the like, oh, all right, I get this, and I would be like literally like deforming on the run and making cover and jumping over stuff.
Deforming on the run.
That stuff was amazing. The shooting part of the game, the like playing game part, the fighting was so
Battles.
like the actual shooting was so like boring. It just felt so like old and like like I'm just going right. And then I do running
Alex,
and I'm like
you and I are on such the same page lately.
it's amazing.
It's crazy. What did you think?
Yeah, I'm on that page as well, guys.
We're already,
Dude, I
the
love
page is full.
Call
We're
it
already-
page 81
already on
or 82.
There's not room for you on this page, Dan. We're already on the
Wait,
page.
footnote.
Oh, it's a
Go
footnote.
ahead,
It's
Dan.
okay.
Yeah, it was a really hard game.
I died a lot.
I'll
admit that.
I blew up a lot.
I thought it was extremely, extremely hard, and so hard that it made it not fun. It was cool. I thought it would be cooler though. I mean, like the
The
forming,
concept is amazing.
the concept
Exactly.
is great.
It's amazing.
But somehow I didn't like use it on the run as much. I mean, maybe it
Neither
would.
did I.
It's like because it felt like it'll be easier for me to just spend my time shooting him. And it is cover to use, but that doesn't.
no, there's no cover mechanic.
You know, it's funny that we all had the same thoughts because I was thinking, you know, the problem with this game is that it is a shooter. Like this technology, if it was an exploration game, and the way I needed to explore was to deform the world,
there's
solve
some of that.
puzzles.
There is some of that where
There
it's
is
like,
some puzzles, but they're
it's
not good.
It's not even puzzle. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, hey, there's light. Boom. Oh, a little thing I can boom, boom.
Yeah, yeah, and there's like move, lift a thing by shooting a
Spike
spike.
the thing, but
Yeah, there needed to be. It should have been like Mirror's Edge is going to be, where you shouldn't play it like a shooter. You're supposed to navigate, and it's like, how do you do this stuff to like you're just like you said. I felt like that power. I wanted to only use that power, and I wanted to grow and amass in a way where I could be using it to kill
was
my
that one,
enemies, as opposed to just shooting an enemy.
Dark Sector.
Yeah.
Dark Sector. It's sort of like that, where instead of it being like. Because I always found that I would
didn't
like
want to
point
use
at the
your
guy
gun,
and go,
you wanted to
boom,
use your glaive.
But then it would be like boom, and they go, oh, and I was like, because on the tutorial thing it was like smash your enemies into freaking stuff, and I was like, all right, never.
there's
did that.
there's like underground levels where you can smash them into the ceiling late in the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know what else is the big problem with this game? It's completely generic. The design, from a design standpoint, it is completely bald space marine in bald space marine gear.
Yeah.
And
There's-
redundant. Like you just do the same thing.
There's
over
like
and over.
2 levels in the whole game that are interesting: the Golden Gate Bridge and the White House. And those are really cool. They're
was in the
future versions of those places, and you kind of get to destroy them. And those are really cool because you feel like you're in some place.
Right.
The rest of most of the game, vast majority of the game, is underground cavern.
You know what it reminded
stock,
me of?
sci-fi setting.
What was that game that came out after Halo 2?
Was it the Blacks?
Where it was third person? No, where it was third person.
So a lot of people
but
don't know that
it was
reference.
the first game that had used the exact same control scheme of Halo.
Are you talking about Red Faction?
No, Brute
Force?
Brute Force.
Yeah.
It reminded me of that game.
Yeah.
I was so
That game was a
excited
huge
for that
letdown.
game. No, I
Yeah.
know. That's
Yeah.
what I mean. That like the concept of it, like it's going to be like Halo, but super They were going to
Yeah.
squeeze every ounce of graphics out of it.
It was a squad-based game.
Squad-based. You were going to be able to do co-op, online co-op, and
Did you guys play any multiplayer on this? So multiplayer is kind of fun.
No, I tried
not
it.
out. I don't think it's out.
Yeah, it's not out. I tried and I waited for like 15 minutes. and
yeah,
nothing. Like,
we were
it's not
playing
happening.
it. It hadn't been released yet.
Oh, well, there were some
People in your
servers
room?
up. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Anyway, the
waited.
multiplayer is
Red
interesting, but it's just like, you know what else is a big problem with this game, and it is a problem in multiplayer and single player, is they employ too much shaky camera. I was constantly having the camera shake, like because the explosions and deformation of terrain would always cause the camera to shake. I was just like, stop with it, because then you can't aim during that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a disappointment.
It's disappointment.
big fan.
I really thought I was gonna love this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's another game that we haven't talked about a lot of the neat things that Sony is doing with downloadable titles. They had a Ratchet and Clank game that is like an add-on to Ratchet and Clank that is only available through PSN. So Microsoft is doing the Xbox Live Arcade stuff, but it seems like Sony is kind of blazing the path to do these kind of meatier, fuller games on PlayStation Network. The other one of those recently is the new Wipeout game, Wipeout HD. And we had a chance to play that. Wipeout is futuristic.
It goes way back in the day, right?
It does. Tons of iterations of this series.
It goes back to the PlayStation 1's demo disc.
Yes.
Where I played that.
That's what it was.
One level
Yes.
over and over and over.
Yes.
Because I can
I
afford
knew
a
what it
game.
was,
I
yeah.
can only play my demo disc.
So it's a racing game, but it's kind of like futuristic.
Games, and then they went to demos, and then they went to none.
Yeah,
and they went to one controller.
Futuristic on tracks. You kind of part of a team that you gain status with, and you go through these what's the word I'm like electromagnetic tracks. So it's very
maglev tracks.
Yeah,
almost, but
exactly. It's kind of like F-Zero a little bit.
Yeah, it's
it
a
is
lot
like
like F-Zero. Yeah.
So you played it a lot back in the day.
I did.
This is
I played
the first high definition version.
Yeah, it's pretty
And
gorgeous.
part of the draw on Wipeout is the soundtrack, which is always sort of like this techno beat kind of thing.
There were some songs. Sorry.
No, and the graphics.
Yeah.
And it reminds me, a couple weeks ago, during the
just about to say,
TRS-80
we talked
thing,
about the demos.
we talked about the demo
Yeah.
scene, and I actually went to scene.org and downloaded a bunch of demos that are happening now, and it's very much that same aesthetic.
Yeah.
So anyway, go ahead.
It is a pretty pretty. It's pretty pretty, this game.
It's double pretty. Triple pretty, sorry.
And the music is great. I thought there's even some popular, like I knew some of the music. Like it wasn't original score, it was music. I love that zone mode. There's a zone mode where you have to keep going until you die, and the music
changes,
keeps going,
the
and
graphics
the visuals change. It reminded me of like a Tron or something.
Yeah.
That was really cool. But as far as the racing goes, this used to be so fast I couldn't even handle it. Like this was the fast game, and Burnout, creams this game. So that wasn't a draw, and it was just kind of racing around. I didn't like it. It was very difficult too.
Do you think it delivered on $19.99 downloadable price tag? I mean, it's kind of the frame through which I'm looking at it. It's a game you don't have to go to the store to buy. You can't go to the store to buy.
Well, I'm sure people like. I mean,
You think it's worth $20?
if I liked this game, yeah.
So no.
Yeah, but I mean,
It wasn't worth $20 for him.
Yeah.
What about for
I
you?
didn't like. I mean, how can I?
No,
say?
I mean, I had sort of the same vibe. It
Would you
felt,
say you're on the same page?
No, just the same vibe.
We're on vibes now. Try to keep up.
Yeah.
Try to stay on the same page, Dan.
God, I got to go back to the page to get you? Jesus.
Choose your own adventure. I chose page 52.
You died. Go back to 52. Choose another one. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, it's really pretty. It looks cool. It actually looks very Web 2.0, by the way. It looks very like, for a while there, I actually thought it was designed by Squarespace. You know what I mean? Like it has those like tabs with the corners and like black and white and like little. It was actually kind of hard to see and figure out what the hell was on the screen some of the times. It's like, so how many? I was like, wait, it's how many laps again? Oh, okay, we're going. You know what I mean?
I was surprised that any of you guys managed to play at all.
Really?
I couldn't play.
What do you mean? You
friends
couldn't play?
list.
Like,
I mean, I eventually started a new profile and was able to
just
play that
found
way.
offline.
But because I have over 50 friends, it was unplayable.
same thing.
I mean,
Wait,
maybe
wait,
by the time this
really?
episode is out, there has been
wait, what was
a
it? What
patch, but
happened?
There's this weird glitch in the game where if you have over 50 friends on PSN, it won't work.
Oh, that's weird.
I just didn't go online.
Oh, I just started up anew.
That's really weird. But the gameplay, I mean, it's not fast enough to be, as you said, it's not like the speed isn't there to go like, wow. But also, it's really hard to kind of control. And I felt like even in the earlier stages, if you didn't hit the fast pad and hit the thing, you weren't going to get anywhere
Yeah,
close
it's
to
kind
the
of a
top.
game. The game to game this game is to
Perfect line.
yeah
Every time.
and hitting.
But
each
that's
of those
racing
arrows.
games.
Well, but it usually feeds you into that. It's not the first level where they're like, oh, you missed that corner, you're 10th. You know what I mean?
I didn't have a problem in the first.
But beyond that,
I was getting
it's not
bronze and
about
gold, it just
finding
didn't-
your perfect line. It's like finding the arrows to make you go fast. It's not like
It just wasn't enjoyable.
It's not a natural.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't looking to turn my corner. I was looking to hit those arrows.
Yeah.
Wow, I actually thought you guys would dig it. I liked it. As I said a few weeks ago, I'm not into racing games per se, but if there is a racing game I like, other than Burnout, it's games like this that aren't based in reality, that are these. Like Wipeout is awesome. It's that futuristic, the graphics. I feel like I'm zooming through these crazy tunnels. There's a lot of different tracks that have a lot of different cool designs. There's jumps. There's a lot of cool stuff.
When are we gonna get?
I don't know if it's worth $20 though.
Yeah,
I feel like 10, 15 would have been more appropriate. But people have paid full price for these type of games before. So
And isn't it? It's just HD or high-res versions of older levels. There's no new content.
That's right.
I want to know the Twisted Metal game.
Me too.
Well,
Is that in development?
David Jaffe supposedly is working on it. That's the big
That'd be
rumor.
fun. Be
I
really
want
fun.
that.
Why don't you
I
call
love
him
that.
up? Get him on the show.
Come DJ.
The Jafster. All right, well, before we get into our email, we do want to thank our sponsors. Dolby Headphone Technology is sponsoring us yet again. Very, very cool.
Rocknrolla.
If you guys haven't heard about the Dolby Headphone Technology, shall blow your mind here in a second. Any set of headphones or earbuds plugged in to a 5.1 surround sound mix using the magic of Dolby Headphone will sound like it's 5.1 in your headphones. Mind-blowing.
That's awesome.
Mind-blowing. And even more mind-blowing was that at PAX in August, Plantronics announced the GameCon 777 series, which has Dolby headphone technology built in to the headphones. So all you need to do is plug the headphones into your computer, and any computer game, or theoretically into your consoles, I don't even know if that works, but plug it into anything that has a 5.1 signal coming out of it, and it will automatically convert it to Dolby headphone.
So when you get new mail, that ding sounds awesome.
You got mail.
Dude, porn? I'm just saying. Anyway, for more information, check out this web address here.
Nice
that.
one.
9 times out of 10,
Audio listeners, tune in.
Tune in.
you saw us watch a bad horror movie for Dead Space.
I don't know about bad. Oh, yeah, it was horrible.
It was bad.
Jason was pretty
Those guys are sponsoring our show, and it's awesome because that game looks freaking cool.
Dude, can we talk about the menu system, by the way? When you
We
open up
can,
your
but that's not the
inventory,
coolest part of the game.
Oh, you mean where you see it?
It's like you actually see him
And you can,
tracking
like,
his
There's
hologram.
there's literally no HUD. It's all in-game. It's all what do they call it when it's music in movies?
Score?
Yeah, no, but when it's
diegetic.
Diegetic.
Yeah.
Here's an head.
So Dead Space, if you want to know, and we saw a space horror movie. It was bad, but it was in preparation for a much better experience, which is going to be the space horror survival game from EA. You are a space
Marine.
Minor.
Non-Marine.
Non-Marine, that's the cool thing.
You're of age and yet still a minor. You have all these tools used to mine different ores in space, and all of a sudden the S hits the F. Aliens, bad shit. So you take your mining tools and you start slicing limbs off of aliens.
Love it.
Not only that, there's awesome technology in the game, allows the zero gravity moments. So you slice an arm off and it just sort of like hangs in space. It's so badass. We played it at PAX. I cannot wait to get my hands on this game. So check out Dead Space from EA.
Thank you.
Also, GoDaddy. GoDaddy's pretty sweet. They are a website that you can go to and get domains. They have some domains for as low as $1.99.
True.
We've all bought our domains there for our
bought many domains.
for sites.
Yeah.
And they have tons of hosting options, easy to use software. Head over to GoDaddy.com, get your piece of the internet, and put in the promo code for 10% off your order, which is TRS1.
Very good, Daniel. Very good. Let's get to our email, shall we?
We shall.
Hey guys, I love the show and I've been watching for a good few months now. I'm taking my first driving lessons this month.
Wow.
And I'm very nervous as my previous attempts at controlling a vehicle have ended badly. I took the Legoland driving test when I was younger and ran over the instructor's foot.
Uh-oh.
I flipped a quad bike at the age of 11. Awesome, right? And I crashed and broke a go-kart 2 years ago at a friend's birthday party. So I'm pretty damn scared that either me, my instructor, or anybody else within a mile radius of the car is going to get hurt. My question...
It's not a good track record.
It's not a good track record at all. Or on a track. My question is to you guys, What were your first driving experiences like? Keep up the radness, Mike in London.
I know what Dan's first driving experience was like. Remember when you took your test and the instructor put that very full cup of hot coffee and he said, just don't get me burned and you'll pass.
And he said, "You're lucky. The cup was empty." No, I mean, parallel parking was pretty tough, but luckily for me, my big wheel pretty much fit into any space I would want it to get into.
Hey, Alanis.
Hey, Alistair. My first experience parking, I just remember.
Not parking, just driving.
I mean, driving. I'm sorry. I remember. My friend Avi said the same thing when we first got in the car. My parents didn't want to teach me. They wouldn't associate bad experiences with them, so they hired a teacher guy. The guy who had a wheel himself and pedals.
Oh yeah, you went to the driving school.
Yeah. Isn't that
you had to take it
by
behind the
law?
wheel.
Oh,
it's
is it
called
by
behind
law?
the wheel.
I mean, I'm just talking about California. I don't even know.
I don't know if it was. I don't
changes
think
from
it
state
was
to
a
state.
law thing. But I remember the first time I put my foot on the gas. It was. I always thought driving was like in a car and road rash.
Bursts.
Right? You
Road rash.
You put your foot down
Motorcycles.
on the gas, and when you take it off, it stops. Put your foot down. But when you put your foot down, you'll take your foot up, and the car will still go a little. You know what I mean? That was such an. It's of course now, but that first instance was such an odd sensation of driving. I didn't drive for a very long time. I didn't get my license until I was 17 or 18.
Kind of shows, doesn't
I
it,
could have
Alex?
gotten it when I was 16. I hated the idea of the responsibility of
Oh man.
mine and other lives.
Well, I was gonna say I had the exact opposite experience. I was like, I want to drive, and I want to go
could have
to.
predicted that one.
I want to drive. I want to drive now, man. I love me some behind the wheels. I watched Dukes of Hazzard. I was like, I want to get into the car. Why they didn't buy me a General Lee when I turned 16, I don't know. I got a Ford Escort wagon.
Racist.
No, a General Lee. Come on. I had no idea that meant bad things sometimes.
Good try, Jeff. Good try.
It's close. It's close.
I'm apprenticing under Dan.
My first experience, I'm apprenticing under Dan, my new shirt.
Under Nads.
Under Nads. So my first experience was actually pretty cool. I, when I turned 15, and I hadn't turned enough to get my learner's permit.
Yeah.
I remember my dad used to drive this old 1980 Mercedes, and it was old. It was not even an 80. It may have even been a 75. It was old Mercedes, and I remember this day. He called us on the phone. He was like, I bought a Mercedes. I bought this car. And we were like, that's so cool. What color is it? And he was like, it's green. And we were like, awesome. He showed up in a fucking brown car. I don't care what anybody says. It was brown. And I go,
what difference
why
does
did
it
you?
make?
Because for the longest time we were like, why did you say that it was green? And he's like, that's green. That is a green car.
Is this a story about color blindness?
Well, yeah, I guess it is. Now that I think about it, I was like, maybe my dad's
It's a
colorblind.
sad moment.
So anyway, before I got my learner's permit, I was going with my dad to go get his dry cleaning, which was down around the corner through our
Sadly,
house.
all brown also.
I know. And he goes, it was horrible. And he goes, well, do you want to drive? And hadn't had my learner's permit, and I was like, all right. And that was how I learned how to drive. It was awesome. It was awesome. And then I opened the door and pushed him out. I went to Vegas. None of that happened.
Well, I learned all on standard transmission.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't.
So and then when I took my
I've seen the show.
I did too. Then I forgot it. Then I became a man.
because I think all my family had at that time were standard transmission cars, and then I borrowed my grandmother's automatic for the test, so that it was it seemed so much easier.
Yeah.
Because I had so much less to worry about. But I remember very close to after I got my license, I was sort of smitten with this girl who was older.
Joy Eisenhart?
No, I'm not that guy, Dan. I would never take her from you. I would never take her from you. She was older, and I was so infatuated with her, and she wanted to go. I grew up, in the Bay Area, and she wanted to go into the city, San Francisco. And if anybody has been to San Francisco, there are hills like this. And I drove
stick shift car,
in a
that is
standard
not
transmission
good.
right after getting my license.
Yeah.
I was shitting bricks, but I didn't want to show her that I was shitting
bricks that you were shitting?
Yeah, because she'd been driving for 4 years, 5 years. She was older than me. I mentioned that. And so we would be on a stop sign like this, and I knew that I was gonna have to take it out of neutral and take my foot off the clutch and there was a car behind me, so if I rolled backwards, I was gonna hit the car behind me. I was
So nervous.
terrified, but couldn't show it and would like. Oh, it was one of the most harrowing experiences.
Right
I know. Well, that's why he sweats when he does stick. He sees a stick shift car and he goes,
Wow.
I see Lombard Street and stick shift cars, and I'm a mess.
I love it. Well, thank you very much, Mike. Hopefully that answered your question. If you'd like to send us an email, please feel free to do so. fans@totallyradshow.com.
That's also where you would send us a background. Those awesome backgrounds that we get every week.
Yeah.
Fans@totallyradshow.com. If you want to make your own background, you can get our logo from the totallyradshow.com website. And you can also download this background, the one that is currently behind us. This one. Am I clear which one we're talking about?
Yes.
You are.
TotallyRadShow.com. Join our forums, sign up, participate, talk about this episode, talk about ways in which to indicate the background behind people. Very interesting topics.
Amazing.
Lots of them.
So many things going on there.
Talk about how you registered to vote. I've been bringing that up every episode.
That'll be a really fascinating discussion.
Conversation.
I filled out a form.
It's really simple, and I guarantee you it'll feel awesome when you vote on November 4th if you're in America. And if you're in Canada, there's also an election happening. I'm not
We've been told.
up on the specifics.
We've been told.
But yeah, so do that. It'll be awesome. You're gonna love it.
Also on the website is the movie we're going to review at a time. So if you want to be in on our discussion, head over to the website. Find that out.
Awesome. Also, if you dig on the shirts, which
Whoa,
we do,
look at this one.
jinx.com/TRS, and follow us up on Twitter, twitter.com/Alex Albrecht.
Like the background. /Jeff Canada.
/Danny TRS.
/Steve TRS.
Well, that is it for this week's edition of the Totally Rad Show. You can catch us here every Tuesday at noon Pacific time. We will see you next week.
Mr. Albrecht, why are you laughing? How many licks does it take to get to the Tootsie Roll center of the Tootsie Pop? I can't, it's so hard to say.
I've never made it without biting. Fuck. I've never made it without biting.
How many licks does it take to get to the Tootsie Roll center? How many licks does it take to get to the Tootsie Roll center of the Tootsie Pop?
I've never, what?
Mr. Albrecht, how many licks does it
Just
take
go back, it's almost there. What's my line?
Mr. Albrecht?
Yes, Timmy.